Hello everyone, welcome back to Maximum Automation. Today as part of our Git tutorial series, I'm going to discuss about Git Stash. So what is Git Stash and what it do? Git Stash temporarily stores or stash your changes which you have made to your working tree. You can save your changes and start working on some other features once you are done. Then you can again reapply the saved changes to your working tree. This is useful when you have to work on multiple items or features and you don't want to commit now. Then you can switch between your multiple work. Stash, copy the state of your working directory and saves it on a stack of changes that you can reapply at any time. You can reapply those changes to same or other branch as well. Now let's see how we can create and perform multiple operations with Git Stash. So this is my project or working tree. And if I do git status here, then you can see I don't have any changes to the file. Now let me update few of the files so that I can stash my changes. I'm going to update feature files under test case folder. Here I'm updating the feature name, and on this file I'm going to update the scenario name. Now if I again do the git status, then here we can see two files are modified. Now let me add one file to the staging area by typing the command git add followed by the file name. So I have one file in staging area and one in non-staging. And if I do git status, then you can see one file is staged and ready to be committed, while the other one is not staged. So now let's say that I want to work on some other feature and I don't want these changes to be part of my other development. So I can stash these modifications, and when required, I can easily get these changes back to my repository. So to stash your changes, you can type the command git stash. So changes has been saved into stash. To see the list of stash which we have created, we can type the command git stash list. You can see here it displayed one stash which I have recently created. And now if I do the git status, then we can see that my working tree is clean and I can start my fresh feature development. The modification which I earlier did to these feature files now has been saved to stash. Now let's say that you want your changes back from the stash. And this is the only stash which I have. And to remove the changes from the stash and to reapply back on your working directory, you can type the command git stash pop. So this command removes the changes from latest stash and applies back to the working directory. You can see here I have got my changes back where I have updated both these files. And if I do git status as well, then you can see that both files are in non-staging area. So when we reapply the changes from stash, then all files move to the non-staging area. Now if I type git stash list, then it did not display any stash because I have removed my changes from stash and applied back to our working directory. So let's say if you want to apply your changes from stash and also you don't want to remove it from the stash. In that case, you can reuse the stash again in future for other repository. Then let's see how we can do it. First, let me create the stash again. So the stash is created, and if I do git status, then again you can see my working tree got cleaned. Now this time I want to apply my changes to my working copy, but I don't want to remove it from stash. So in that case, I can type the command git stash apply. The changes has been applied, and if I again type git stash list, then you can see here one stash is also exist. So the apply command did not remove the changes from stash. Currently, I have one stash available here, but I can create multiple stashes as well. So let's see how we can create multiple stashes. So let me create another stash by git stash command. The other stash also got created. Now if I again type git stash list, then you can see now we are getting two stashes. Stash 0 is the latest stash which I have created, and this one is the previous stash which we have created. So the latest stash will always be mapped with 0 index. Now let me add my changes to this file as well by updating the scenario name. And I'm creating a new stash for the current changes. Now if I do the stash list, then you can see here we have three stashes now, and my working tree is clean. When we apply the changes back by using command git pop, then it removes the latest stash and apply the changes to working copy. Now, if you want to apply the changes from a specific stash, then you can provide the stash name with pop command. Here, I want to apply changes from stash 2, so I can provide the stash name, which is stash 2. So in this stash, I have changes to only this single file. And if I again create the stash, and this time I want to apply the changes from stash 1, then you can see here this stash contains the changes in all these three files. So if you have noticed one thing, then every time I'm creating a stash, it creates the stash with description as work in progress or WIP with latest commit message. So it's very difficult to identify which stash contains which changes. To avoid this situation, you can save the changes into stash with your custom description. And to do that, you can type the command git stash save and then followed by your own description. I'm providing the description as updated 3 feature files. Now, if I list the stash again, then you can see here we have got our latest stash with our custom description. So it helps us to identify the changes between multiple stashes. Now, the next thing is how to delete a stash. Suppose you no longer want to keep a stash, then you can delete that stash from the repository. And to do that, you can type the command git stash drop. Drop is the command to delete a stash, followed by the stash name. Let's say I want to delete this stash, so I can copy the stash name and then paste it over here. So it dropped the stash too. And in the git stash list as well, you can see that stash 2 is no longer exist. Now I have only two stashes available. Let's say that you want to delete all these stashes in one command. So you can type git stash clear. So this clear command will delete all these stashes available in your repository. And if I do the stash list again, then you can see it did not display any stash. So when we create a stash, then only the files which are in staging and non-staging area moves to the stash. The file which are untracked or ignored will not be a part of stash by default. But if you want to stash those files as well, then you can do it. Now I have lost all my changes because I have deleted all these stashes. So let me do some changes to the file. And I'm creating a new file as well so that we will have one untracked file. Now, if I do the git status, then you can see here I have one file which is not staged and one file which is untracked. Now, if I create a stash by using command git stash save followed by the stash description, Then it created a stash, but only a single file moved to the stash. The untracked file still exists in my working tree. And if I do the git status, then you can see this file still exists in my working tree. So now let me apply the changes back from the stash. Again, I have one untracked file and one not stage file. Now to move untracked file as well to stash, you can type the command git stash -u. -u is for untracked file. Now if I do git status, then we can see my working tree is clean as the file has been moved to stash. And if I again do the git stash pop, then we can see both files applied back to my working tree. So in case you want to move your ignored file as well to stash, then you can use -a instead of -u. Now let's say you want to see the detail of a stash, that what all are the changes of a part of that stash. So we can do that as well. To do that, let me again create a new stash first. Now to get the stash detail, you can type the command git stash show. So you can see here it contains changes in one file, Amazon test.feature. This is how you can get the changes details of a stash. To see the full details of a stash, you can type the command git stash show -p. Here you can see the full details, that what's all are the changes in this stash. We can see here that we have modified the scenario name in this file. Now we can create partial stash as well, which means I can move partial files or changes to stash. For example, let's say I have changes in 2 files, but I only want to move one file to stash and the other file I don't want. So I can do that as well. Let me apply the changes back to the working tree. And now let me update another file so that I can select one file to move to stash, and then I can avoid another file. Now if I do git status, then we can see I have changes in these 2 files. And now to create a partial stash, you can type the command git stash -p. -p is for partial. You can see here it prompt for this change in this file, whether I want to move this change to stash or not. If yes, then I can press the key Y. Or if you don't want to move this change to stash, then you can press N. So let me press Y for this change as I want to move this file. And here you can see now it prompted for the next change, where I have updated the feature name. So I'm pressing N for this change as I don't want to move this to stash. And now if I see the details of this stash, then you can see here that it contains only one file with this change, because I have only moved this file to stash. So this is how git stash works. Please try it by yourself and put your comments in the comment box in case of any doubts. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe to the channel.